Hi everyone, week 4. In a couple days, well, maybe tomorrow, Thursday, we'll officially be halfway through the semester, if you can believe it. I can't. I had to double check myself to make sure that we were already there. So we're already going through week 4, well underway here, but halfway through. So you only have half the course left, so you can kind of breathe a little easier knowing that. There are a couple things I want to talk about in this week's weekly update. And I'll get to that in just a second. And again, I apologize for the kind of falling behind in some of the grading. Also, in posting the weekly update, this should have been up earlier today, but for some reason I felt like cleaning my office instead of doing my work, because we all get distracted like that. So, but I'm here now. So I made it back to the real world instead of the procrastination world. So I'm here. Okay, so what do we have to talk about? Your papers have been submitted, which is awesome. I will say this is the very first time that I've ever taught that all of my students have turned in their papers. How awesome is that? That's pretty great. So I'm really proud of you guys for all doing that. So nice work. We don't have any textbook reading this week. We have some handouts. And I do want to thank Audrey Speckart. I'm going to give a couple shout-outs this week, so if you hear your name, I just want to say thanks. Mentioned how the handout is not really consistent, like the pages are flip-flopped, and that's totes my fault. Side note, as you've all been picking up on, totes is probably one of my favorite words right now, and is annoying probably annoying every single one of my coworkers. Anyway, so that's my fault that those are flip-flopped that way. Scanning issue, but what I would just recommend is just to rotate it. I know it's a pain, but if you could just as you're reading the one page, Control R or Command R if you're on a Mac, to rotate the page as you're looking at it would probably help. I feel like I'm falling off the screen. Let's see here. Looking at more logical fallacies this week, what I would like you to do is you're going to be looking at each other's samples. So the samples that you used in the paper that you just wrote about, I asked you to post those examples in the discussion board called Paper 1 Examples. So they should all be there. What I want you to do is go through that discussion board and look at 5 of them that you did not post. And they could be, whatever. They can be the same fallacies you talked about, but I just don't want you talking about your own examples again. So look at somebody else's. And there's some instructions on that discussion board or in the module, what I want you to do. So those should be under Paper 1 Samples, or Examples, one of those. You'll find it. But if you don't find it, email me and I'll show you. We have 2 handouts. Power of Persuasion, that's the crooked one, that's handout 1. Power of Persuasion, handout 2. That one should be alright, so a lot of copying and pasting on there, but you should find that one okay. Definitely in next week's weekly update, I'm going to go through some of the situations that we talk about in those handouts, just in case you're a little bit confused on those. So I will talk about those next week, but I do want you to, give it a good shot to try to understand what it is through this first reading of it. So that's that. Okay, printed out some notes this time, so I won't get too off track. Of course I lose my notes. Found them. Okay. Grading. Your papers are all turned in, like I said. Awesome, nice job. And I always try to have my papers done within 1 week of them being turned in, so you should have your papers done or returned back to you by Sunday. I'm going to be like a grading fiend. I'm going to lock myself in my office. Now that it's clean, I have nothing else to do. So I'm going to grade your papers and you'll get them back within a week. And I do write comments in them, so I'm just going to send you back the attachment like you sent to me, and they'll be inline comments like Microsoft Word or whatever. So you'll receive those. Also, I'll be grading all your stuff that you did, on the discussion board, blogs, all that good stuff. That'll be going up as well. One of the things I wanted to mention about this week is I tried searching my email and looking at the discussion boards, but I can't remember who sent this to me. So you know who you are. I'll try to find it, and I'll give you a shout-out next week. The assignment due date is this is for paper 2, For the paper 2, the next paper that's ahead of us, so the Experiencing Persuasion paper, which you'll take a look at this week, it's actually due Sunday, August 4th. not Saturday, August 3rd. That's my mistake. So instead of going back in and changing it, I'll just say it here. I'll also post it under an announcement as well. So it's due Sunday, August 4th, not Saturday, August 3rd. So just make sure. You kind of get an extra day, but not really, because it was always supposed to be the 4th. But just pretend. Let's see. Got that. Oh, Melissa Binder, awesome video response. That was really, really cool. So I'm teaching 2 sections of this, so if you haven't seen each other's names that I'm talking about, it's probably in the other section. But Melissa was she's like, oh, I thought I would do a video response for my weekly update response. And so that was really fun. And I thought I appreciate that you took the time to do that. So that was just kind of a neat thing. I don't get to see you guys, so it's fun to see, some actual interaction there. So that was nice. Thanks. Very cool. Let's see. Kelly Close actually had this question, and this was very common amongst a lot of you this week. A lot of you had questions about page 35, the difference between argument and persuasion. And I want to talk about that for just a quick second because I think that's really important, and that's a tough distinction to make. And so what I was thinking about this, and I posted on that discussion board, and I think I referred a couple other groups. I'm like, go see that discussion. But I think they're very close and they're very dependent on each other. And so looking at page 35, what I said was that we might think of argument as the process of getting someone to be persuaded. Therefore, argument equals the tactics you use trying to get someone to be on your side, while persuasion is the result of those tactics. So you can try to argue and argue and argue. You can use all these different tactics in order for them to try to, tactics and situations, which you'll be learning more about this week, to try to get them to be on your side. However, whether or not they're persuaded is actually the end result of that. So you need to use you need to use tactics and situations to make your argument worthwhile, but whether or not somebody is persuaded by those will validate the argument. So they're interconnected, and there are, one could be true and the other one can't be, and I know the book was a little bit sloppy in trying to figure out what they wanted to talk about, but that's how I see it. So argument is what we use in order to get someone to be persuaded, if that makes sense. If you still have questions about it, I'm more than happy to talk about it. I can do another video, or we can, chat or whatever. So hopefully that helps. And then also another question that I've been stumped with, and that I'm going to run around 3rd floor Brown, because we have the philosophy department up here, and I'm going to ask them some questions. This one's coming from Michael Rivard. This is a great question. So I think if you want to, if you're looking for something kind of, to get your gears going, this is really a tough one. So he posted in his question this week was, is it immoral to use logical fallacies to exaggerate things that horrible groups do to people? For example, would it have been immoral for the United States government to use logical fallacies when talking about the things that Nazis were doing under Hitler's reign? I understand that they wouldn't necessarily have to, but would it have been immoral to do it? That's a tough one. So I've been kind of wrapping my brain around that one. I haven't come up with a response yet, but I'm still thinking. So if any of you want to jump in and offer your opinion on that, he posted that on the questions, the content and the philosophical question that we had to do for the last chapter. So if you're not in that, I can't remember which section Michael's in, but if you want me to copy and paste that question if you're interested in it, I'm happy to do that. So those are some interesting things. Anything else? The heat has died down, which is fantastic. Hopefully none of you lost power. I have no movie talk this week. I think, let me make sure. Go through grading, blah, 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 blah. Go through all those notes. I think that's it. Okay. I'm going to go before I remember something. All right. See you guys next week.